الله الرحمن الرحيم كل نفس ذائقة الموت وقال سبحانه وتعالى بعد ذلك ثم إلينا ترجعون. We begin today with a reminder for myself and my brothers and sisters in Islam, and I'm beginning with the ayah of the Quran that is repeated in the Quran. The first part of it we've all heard, كل نفس ذائقة الموت, that every soul shall taste death. And this ayah has been repeated in the Quran multiple times, and after it different wordings from Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala have come. But one of them, which I just recited, is that every soul shall taste death, and then you will return back to us, to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. And this is a very important part of the ayah. My respected brothers and sisters in Islam, life is not without purpose. Meaning, if life was just to live like animals live, you know, a dog or a bird or a snail or a worm lives. It has life. It has intelligence. It has a family. You know, whether you call it a pride, whether you call it whatever group of a pod of whales or whatever. So they have family. They have a male and a female. They know better than some of the people today. We're not sure if they're male or female, but animals don't have that confusion. You know, you never see a dog think that it's a female. You know, but so they have families, and they procreate, meaning they have children, and they work in the sense how, I mean, I'm not saying that they go and have a 9 to 5, but they work. They go out, they hunt, or they work. They, you know, a shepherd dog goes out and shepherds. A guard dog goes and guards. A cat goes out and hunts or looks cute in your house, whatever that dog or child or whatever purpose that animal may have. Whether it's an orca in the ocean. But they live and they die. And they finish. But the insan, the human, has been given a greater purpose than that. And with greater reward, with greater purpose, with greater authority, as humans have been given authority. I mean, think about this thing, right? When you look at an elephant, and you see a little child, a little human child sitting on top of the elephant, dragging it this way and that way. You ever think about it? That elephant could drop that kid and step on him, crush him, and you wouldn't even think twice. But Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala gave insan, this human, authority over the animals. I used to work at SeaWorld. I'm being real with you, right? And in San Diego, we have a thing called SeaWorld, and they have killer whales, orcas, big, you know. These things are huge. And they could eat you, and it wouldn't be a snack for them. Like in the wild, they eat more than a few tons of food and all this kind of stuff, right? So a human being isn't even a snack for them, but they would have these little trainers, little, comparatively, human beings are very small. They would make them do backflips and jump through hoops, and they'll give them a fish and they don't like clapping. SubhanAllah. His little human controls all of this. How? Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala gave us authority. With greater authority comes greater accountability. With great power comes great responsibility. So Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala didn't create us without purpose. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala created us to recognize Him and to worship Him. مَا خَلَقْتُ الْجِنَّ وَالْإِنسَ إِلَّا لِيَعْبُدُونَ. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala tells us we didn't create the jinn or the human for nothing. We didn't create them just to make money, just to be famous, just to have clout, just to have bling, or whatever else, swag, right? No, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala created us to worship Him. So what is the first part of that? Is to recognize Allah. If you don't know who Allah is, who are you worshiping? You know, we have a lot of discussions with people of other faiths. Sometimes, you know, atheists, you know, the people of no faith, right? And I was on a plane one time, and I was sitting next to an atheist, and I was dressed as I am, you know. So the first thing he looked at me and said, "Are you one of the Muslim guys?" "Yeah, Muslim, alhamdulillah." And he's like, oh, you believe in God, like big guy up in the sky. And I thought it was funny, you know. So I was like, you don't believe in God? He's like, I don't believe in God. So I started, giving him Dawah, where did you come from, what's the purpose, we do. And then the plane just started shaking. And he grabbed his book, oh God! I told him, wait, oh what? Who are you doing? Not now. Who are you calling out to? If you don't believe in God, who are you calling out to? So the reality is, every human knows that there is a God, that there is a creator, that there is a power. Right? But then some people, they want to throw their own imagination into that. Like, you speak to some of the Christians. I was in a church in San Diego. And, I used to live in a neighborhood called Linda Vista. At that time, it was very predominantly Mexican and Vietnamese, like a mix. So I went to a Vietnamese church, and they had a Vietnamese Jesus. I'm not kidding. And subhanAllah, and you could go there now, next to them is a Korean church, and next to them is a Chinese church. And they all have their own Jesus. You go into the church and they have Jesus, and he looks visibly Asian. Asian meaning, from Japan, China kind of Asian, not the Indian, Pakistani Asian, right? And you go in there, and then you see this Jesus, and each one of them, in each three of these churches right next to each other, each one of them looks a little bit different. Even though they all look Asian, but one of them looks a little more Vietnamese, and one of them a little more Chinese, and one of them more Korean. And I would walk into these churches, and I would be talking to them, and I was very young, and I would just look at this, and I would say, you know what they've done? They have projected their own image onto God. That's why, when you see most churches in America, you see a white Jesus. Blonde hair, blue eyes, real skinny and stuff like that. Right? Because that's what they want to picture God. I was in Atlanta one time, this is back in the 90s, and I went to a gas station, and they had a black Jesus with cornrows and a goatee. I kid you not, right? And I was like, who's that? That's Jesus. Man, how many colors this guy got? This guy's like Fletch from that. Anyway. Right? So this idea is what they do is they take their own ideas and project it over to God. Hindus have the same thing. Sometimes they get scared of a snake, they start worshiping a snake. They get scared of a monkey, they start worshiping a monkey. They want to get some milk, they start worshiping a cow. Right? It's your own imagination making them into God. The cow's not God. The cow's pooping all over the place, it's out there, just roaming around, and you're like, that's God. Like, bro, that's a burger. Right? So what I'm saying is, the first thing is for us to recognize who is Allah. How will we recognize who is Allah? Not by our own imagination. لَيْسَ كَمِثْلِهِ شَيْءٍ. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala tells us there is nothing that can be compared. You cannot make the likeness of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala with anything. We don't give Allah a figure from our imagination. As Ibn Qudama, he says, the intelligence of men cannot grasp that. So how do we believe in Allah? We believe in Allah as Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala has told us about himself. So if Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala tells us that Ar-Rahman wa al-Arsh istawa, that's what we believe. Dun al-Kayf, we don't ask how, we don't, what about, if you learn Arsh, what about here, no, we're good. Keep Aristotle out of it. Right? We don't need all of that. We believe in Allah the way Allah describes himself, subhanahu wa ta'ala, the way the Prophet ﷺ told us. If Rasulullah ﷺ said, you will see Allah with your own eyes, you will see Allah. How? Allah knows best. That's it. So that's the first part of our purpose, is to recognize who is Allah. If you don't know who is Allah, who are you worshiping? You're not worshiping Allah, you're worshiping your imagination. When you recognize Allah, then you worship Allah. And you know Allah through what He told us about Himself. We do not take our own ideas into account. Why not? Why can't we just make up our own imaginary God? We cannot. Why? Because this is a reality you're dealing with. And the reality is, it's something past your imagination. Imagine if I was to tell you, there is a color you've never seen. A color you've never seen. How would you know what that color is? It's never been in your spectrum. So if I've seen that color, I'll describe it to you, and that's the way it's going to be. And until you see it, that's the best we can do. Right? And that's how it is. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala has always been there, will always be there, never dies, never gets tired, doesn't have to rest on the 6th day or 7th day or whatever else nonsense. He doesn't not know what's on a fig tree. He doesn't. All of that is not befitting the creator of the universe. He is all-knowing, all-powerful, always been there. Something that we have never seen with our own eyes. So when Allah describes Himself, we believe in it. And when we see Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala in the Jannah, the how, the kayfiyah will come there. And Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala does not ask you to believe something that is illogical. Right? Like, oh, 3 is 1 and 1 is 3 and one is they're the same but they're not the same, and they're all powerful but then they're not all powerful, and they're co-equal but then one is greater. Like, what? It doesn't have to be a mystery. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is very simple. He tells us about Himself. Know that Allah is one. Doesn't have any children, doesn't have any parents, doesn't have siblings, and doesn't have, a battle with the devil and no, the devil is nothing compared to the power of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. The devil is only a temptation out there. He can't take on Allah's armies. Nobody can. And every fool that thought they could from Fir'aun until our time has learned their lesson. But what is important for us, my brothers and sisters in Islam, is to recognize that we have to make the main purpose of our life the worship of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. And we have to remember that this life will end. No matter if you live 100 years or 1,000 years. If you had the life of the Qawm of Nuh alayhi salam, or if a child dies during the birth, either way you will go back to Allah. And every one of us will have our own question. If a child dies before bulugh, before puberty, he's safe. That's when people tell us, oh, how can there be a God if there are children that die? Of course, that's got nothing to do with whether there's a God or not. Of course there is a creator, and when a child dies early, this is a mercy from Allah. There's no accountability. But if you are raised past puberty, you will have to go back and give account. So this is the very important part of the ayah that we forget. That we will have to go back to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala and give account. And I know that many brothers, if we can come closer, there's a lot of people, alhamdulillah, good thing, masjid is full. We got brothers standing all the way outside, so please come closer. Sit close like the Sahabah, radiallahu anhu, used to sit. Not COVID rules anymore, no 6 feet, right? So, what happens now is most of us, if not all of us, we make mistakes. Right? Meaning, you might be better than me. Like, I'm not trying to judge you, right? But I know myself, and I know that I spent a good part of my life wasted away from Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. And I did things that I'm not going to talk about. Nothing to be proud about. Right? And some of you might have done worse. Some of you might not have. But each one of us has wasted parts of our life. Each one of us has not fulfilled the haqq of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. And sometimes that gets to be a depression. That, oh man, I wasted so much of my life. Oh, I've got so many sins. I'm involved in this and that. And I don't have to ever get out of it. And it may, see again, not everybody's test is the same. It was a beautiful hadith. I like to go off topic sometimes, but it's still on topic. There's a beautiful hadith, Sahih hadith, about the 3 that were tested. You know the hadith? You guys awake? Good. You do? Good job. You get a prize. Right? The hadith of the 3 that were tested. One of them was a leper. One of them was blind. One of them was bald. Right? You know the hadith? You know the hadith or you don't know it?
I know.
You know it? Good job. Right? Each one of them is tested in the hadith. An angel comes to each one of them. I'm just summarizing from the hadith. And the leper is told, what do you want? He said, the best thing I want is leprosy. Because leprosy is a horrible disease. Your skin falls off and gets all nasty and stinks. And that's why lepers used to be put in a colony to die off because it's very contagious and all that. So he's like, I want this leprosy gone. That's a hard thing to live with. So it makes sense, right? So he's given that. Right? And again, I'm just summarizing from hadith, not the point of the lecture, but about what do you want from animals and so on, camel and cow and all that, right? And the blind person, he wants to see. Now, being blind is hard. Imagine never ever seeing color, or never being able to read a book, or never being able to see who you're talking to. It's difficult. Nowadays you have all these hearing eye dogs, and you have all these facilities and all this stuff. But imagine when you didn't have all of that, being blind is very difficult, going through life like that. So yes, he wanted to see, and Allah gave him that sight. The last one, or one of the ones, was bald. And then you think about this hadith, you think, man, being bald is not that bad. Like nowadays, people shave their heads to look cool, right? So, you think that, how did the hadith, and that's the beauty of that hadith, is that not everybody's test is the same. To somebody, what might seem light to you is a huge test. And to somebody else, what might seem impossible to you is a day in their regular life. Like we got first world problems. If I don't have my cell phone working for some reason, well, life is coming to an end. Right? The world is gonna crash and burn if we don't have 5G Wi-Fi, right? But you go to other places in the world and people are struggling to eat. So what does that tell you? That everybody's test is different. Somebody's test may be that I used to be a hitman for the mafia, and I didn't, but I'm just saying, I know brothers who did. They were. For cartel, that's what they did for a living. Every day they kill people. And they're Muslim today, I know them personally. And they have to deal with that past and that craziness and the regret and the nightmares and the police and then the cartels, and that's their test. Somebody else, it might be an addiction to movies. But both are tests. So each one of us has a test. And each one of us has to overcome that. That's the purpose of life. الذي خلق الموت والحياة ليبلوكم أيكم أحسن عمل. That's it. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala tells us He created death and life to see which one of us, or which one of you in the ayah, brings forth the best of deeds. So each one of us is going to struggle with that in our own way. But I want to mention to you something from the Sahabah, because our da'wah always goes back to the Quran, always goes back to the Sunnah, the Sahih, and always goes back to the Sahaba, the Salaf al-Salihin. That's our da'wah. We're not here to make up stuff. Nothing new. New is bid'ah. We go back to the past. Stick to that Sunnah. Right? From the Sahaba were some of the worst enemies of the Prophet. That's an interesting thing to say. That at the time, they were enemies, and at the time, they became Muslim. Now, of course, we know about Khalid ibn al-Walid, and we know about Umar ibn Khattab, radiallahu anhum, the great heroes of Islam, and how. When you think of the likes of Abu Sufyan, radiallahu anhu, Hind, his wife, radiallahu anha. When you think about Safwan ibn Umayyah, radiallahu anhu, or Ikramah ibn Abi Jahl, radiallahu anhu. Or Harith ibn Hisham, the brother of Abu Jahl, radiallahu anhu, they became Muslims. But they fought Islam for a long time. Whatever sins you may be dealing with, whatever challenges you may be dealing with, whatever you may have done in your past, it's not going to be as bad as that. They fought the Prophet ﷺ. They fought the Muslims in Badr, in Uhud. Like Khalid al-Walid in Uhud, he was an instrument for the loss. Even though it ended up not being lost, but at that time. So those people, when they became Muslim, imagine them. But even they recognize that the mercy of Allah is such that whatever you may be dealing with, Allah can forgive you. Even if you're some of the worst, filthy enemies of Islam today, those apologists and phobes and all of that we have there, and hammer and I don't know, whatever, illogicals and all that. Allah can guide you. I mean, open your heart to the truth. Allah can guide you and make you a great da'i for Islam. And we've seen it. Many of the brothers that do da'wah with us, with the One Message Foundation, many of them, you can see videos when they were out there arguing against us at the table, and today they are du'at. Right? So, never ever despair in the mercy of Allah. Never think it's too late. I don't care if you're 89 years old. Never too late. I don't care if you're on your deathbed. Never too late. In the time of Umar ibn Khattab radiyanhu, Umar radiyan was in Medina. Abu Sufyan, Safwan ibn Umayyah, Al-Harith ibn Hisham, Ikrimah ibn Jahl, Ikrimah's son, Amr ibn Ikrimah. These were chiefs. These were the honor of the Quraysh. And they were Muslim at this time. This is after the Fatah of Mecca, the Khilafah of Umar ibn Khattab. So they came to Medina and they sat with Umar in the masjid. And as they were sitting, Bilal al-Habashi, he came. Now Bilal radiyanhu, according to the customs of the time, the urf of the time, he was very low because he used to be a slave. He wasn't Arab. He didn't have a qabila. He didn't have a lineage. We don't even know who his great grandfather was. Right? But in the value of Islam, he was very heavy. He had a high status. Why? He was one of the early Muslims. He went through the hardships of being tortured and was on Tawheed. And he was from those that defended the Prophet ﷺ and made hijrah and all of that, right? So in the value of Islam, he was very high. When Umar saw him coming, he didn't think, oh, these are Quraysh, these are my tribal people, these are from my country. You know, today we hear this, these are people from my country. I don't care what country you're from. Don't matter. I don't care what family you're from. Don't matter. If you're Muslim, you're my brother. And if you're not Muslim, if you're not on the deen, if you're not on the Quran and the Hadith, I got nothing to do with you. That's how I roll. That's the way it is. Nationalism has no place in Islam. So Umar ibn Khattab, he's sitting here and he has the leaders of Quraysh that are Muslims sitting with him, but when he sees Bilal radiyanhu, he tells them, back up. Go back. He tells Bilal, come here. Puts him up front. Khubbab radiyanhu, Miqdad radiyanhu, Salman al-Farisi, Suhaib al-Rumi. These are all Sahabah that are not Arab. Even if they're Arab, they are not from the tribe. They're not from the high status. But these were all Sahaba that were very loved by the Prophet of Allah sallallahu alaihi wasallam. So when Umar radiyan sees them, he sees Salman al-Farisi, come forward. He sees Miqdad. Miqdad used to be a slave. Everyone tells Miqdad, come forward. And he tells these guys, go back up. Until he pushes them all the way back to where the shoes are. Now, you're like, what's up with this? I was dissing us, right? And we're the chiefs of Mecca. We are from the Quraysh. We're Banu Hashim, Banu Umayyah, from major tribes. And we're Muslim. It's not like we're not Muslim. And he's pushed us all over where the shoes are, and he's put these slaves and ex-slaves and, Ajam like Salman al-Farisi and Suhaib al-Rumi can't even speak Arabic properly, and he puts them up front. But then, one of them tells them, he goes, you know what? Don't blame Umar. What he did is right. He said, when we were fighting Islam, our servants and our slaves were accepting Islam. And when we were fighting the truth, they were patient against our torture, standing on the haq, so they deserve it. Abu Sufyan said that's true. But then they think, subhanAllah, they have surpassed us in the dunya, no doubt. They are the leaders today. It doesn't matter what lineage you're from, doesn't matter what tribe, who your father was, which womb you came out of, doesn't matter. Today, because of their iman, because of their sacrifice, because of their fighting, fi sabilillah, they have today surpassed us, no doubt. But what about in Jannah? What if we get left behind? What if we get pushed out the doors like we did here? So they go back to Umar. Point here, pay attention. The point is, how they changed their life. So then back to Umar, they said, Umar, what you did is right. We're not going to complain about it. They deserve it. But what if we get left behind in Jannah? Tell us, how should we earn what we can from sacrifice? What can we do? So that we can earn the mercy of Allah, so Allah can enter us into Jannah. We don't want to be left behind in Jannah. So Umar radiallahu anh tells them that go and sacrifice like they did. Go and sacrifice for Allah. Be patient through hardships like they were. And maybe Allah will have mercy on you. So subhanAllah, they didn't go, oh yeah, that's nice, but let me go home and watch the next TV episode. No. They went out and did it. They went back to Mecca, and 400 of the youth of Quraysh, 400 of them left their house, said there is jihad in Sham, we're going to go and we're not coming back. Either if we're victorious, either I'm Ghazi or Shaheed. But if there is still battle going on, I'm not coming back. Right? 400 of them started to leave. The people of Mecca were crying. They loved them. Al-Harith ibn Hisham. He is the brother of Abu Jahl. Abu Jahl Abu al-Hakam, as they used to call him before, which is Amr ibn Hisham. But Harith, people loved him a lot. Quraysh loved him. So he addressed the people of Quraysh. He said, look, our servants, who we used to see as low, they went out and sacrificed for Allah. Allah raised them. And we don't want to be left behind in Jannah. And we've wasted so much of our life fighting the truth that now we're going to go and make sure that we spend every moment of our life for the truth. Fighting for the haqq. We have no other goal in life except that the banner of La ilaha illallah is raised. And with that, with even some of their families, they went out to the land of Sham. Sham, which includes Syria, Lebanon, Palestine. May Allah free Palestine. Ameen. May Allah free Palestine. I thought you guys scared out here. You gonna get canceled? It's alright. It's me on the camera. I'll get canceled. Don't worry about it. Say Ameen. Ameen. And Jordan. This whole area was Sham. So they're going out there, and Khalid ibn Walid is there, and Abu Ubaidah bin Jarrah is there. And there are battles. And one of the battles that they take part in is Yarmouk. The Battle of Yarmouk is a historic battle. Even many non-Muslim historians say that it changed the face of the earth. Many battles like Qadisiyah as well. I mean, many of our Muslims right now, when I'm saying these words, you don't even know what I'm talking about, which is really sad. And if I told you, if I asked you who won the Super Bowl, you probably know. I don't. Alhamdulillah. Who won the, I don't know, World Cup or cricket or whatever waste of time that you guys, you know, baseball, what is it? What is it like? What is it called? The baseball championship, what's it called? World Series. Who won it? Who cares? Swing, strike, swing. You'll get so carried away about after teams like Barcelona, and like, bro, you're not from Barcelona. If you went there, they probably wouldn't even let you in. Calm down, bro. Allah Muslim. See, this is the thing. Like today, we're caught up with this stuff. That's not what the Sahabah were. Then it was about Iman and Kufr. That was their battle. Right? That was their wala wal bara. That was their loyalty and who they stuck with. So there, as the battle, and Yarmouk was a 9-day battle. It wasn't like, the movies, like, they start in the morning and then like by noon they're done. They're like, all right, cut. It's not the way it goes, right? And different historians, even amongst the historians of Islam and Western historians, have given different numbers. But the Muslims are outnumbered vastly. Around the largest number that you will find historically, maybe at 30,000, 40,000 of the Muslims against 300,000 to 400,000 of the Kuffar. Some of the numbers even mention the Muslims at 2,000 against an army that was over 200 to 300,000. So, depending, 1 to 10 or 1 to 100, or, they were outnumbered vastly. And the Romans, it wasn't just the Romans, They had Banu Ghassan and they had the Arab Christian tribes of the Levant, as they called it, with them. And they were a standing army, meaning they were equipped. They were physically bigger than the Arabs. They were physically fit. You know, they worked out kind of guys, and you know, the Roman army was a world power. The Arabs didn't have an army. Remember this. Before Islam, the Arabs had no king. The Qabail, the tribe, like the Quraysh or any Banu Asad or Banu Tamim, would have warriors. But it wasn't like a regular standing paid army like the Romans and the Persians. And the Muslims were at that time fighting the Persians and the Romans. They took on the two biggest superpowers at the same time. So when they went here, you gotta understand that weaponry-wise, technique-wise, everything in the worldly sense, the Romans were ahead. Numbers, of course, right? But what did the Muslims have? Iman. See, this is what we forget. What was the element of success? Iman. So when they went, at that time, Khalid ibn Walid, he sees the battle going on. And he sees that the advance of the kuffar is coming forward. So they make a shura. They discuss, how should we deal with this? And Abu Ubaidah bin Jarrah is the Amir of the army, not Khalid ibn Walid. And Abu Ubaidah bin Jarrah, he says that they are sending Banu Ghassan, the Arab Christians, as the first segment with Roman soldiers to discuss or fight. So the army wouldn't be like, okay, the whole army fight. In the old days, we would send a battalion first. And they would kind of hash at it, and then the rest would get into it. So the battalion they sent forward was 60,000. So that battalion is bigger than the whole Muslim army. Looking at the different number, even if you take the Muslims to be 2,000 to 20,000, it's still nothing compared to 60,000. So they say, okay, what should we do? Khalid ibn Walid is amazing. He says, I'll fight him myself. Like, I got it. Abu Sufyan was like, is he joking? Like, are you serious? And Khalid Walid told Abu Sufyan, I thought you were brave. What happened? He goes, I'm not talking about being brave, but this is the world of using means. So what should you do? Take 60 men with you. Look at their idea of sabr. It's 60 men against 60,000. That is using the means to them. And this is history. I've been to the area where Yarmouk happened. You go to Jordan and then you can go Muta, Yarmouk, and all these areas where these battles happen. If you go for Hajj and Umrah, go out and look at Badr, look at Uhud, so you can have context. So when you're there and you see this, you imagine 60 men, just when they're going up to meet the 60,000. Now, Banu Ghassan were Arab, and they had an idea of honor. So when they saw 60 men coming, they said, oh, it's a surrender. I mean, obviously they're not going to fight 60,000. So they say, Khalid ibn Walid, they tell them, today we're going to put such conditions on you, we're going to disgrace you. Khalid, well, what are you talking about? And they're like, oh, your surrender, right? He goes, what surrender? We're here to take your heads. But Ghassan, the Bahan was the leader of the Romans at the time. They said, look, we don't want to be the laughing stock of the Arab that 60,000 of them killed 60 of you guys. And this is like a joke, right? So don't make us look bad in front of the Arab. We're just 60 men. We're gonna. If we just step on you guys will die. Khalid when he told them, look, we have men in our army that love death fi sabilillah more than you love your women and wine. It's a famous statement. He made this twice, by the way. He makes it against the Persians as well. He said, I have people in my battalion that love death fi sabilillah more than you love your women and wine. So don't worry about it. And another tarikh, in a history book, he said something beautiful. He said, you know, when a hunter goes, one hunter can hunt a whole flock of birds. To me, you're like birds. We're hunters, you're birds. And so Khalid ibn Walid, is it true that a sword came from the sky and God gave you a sword? So Khalid Walid told him, no. I'm going to be honest with you. There is no sword from the sky. It's not. But I'm called Saif Allah because Allah has unsheathed me against his enemies, and that is why. And they told Khalid Walid, they told him, look, if you want money, take money. There is no way you're going to win from us. Now he said something very interesting. Historians have discussed why he said it. But mostly because war is tactics as well. He told them, no, we don't want money. We like Roman blood. So we're here to drink your blood. Not that it's halal to drink blood. We don't drink blood. Don't take it the wrong way. But this is war. At that time, Khalid Walid, he made small circles. Because strategy as well, it's not about, taking sticks and fighting. No, right? You gotta have strategy as well. So he made circles so the army could never attack them full force. You could only fight one person at a time. It's a circle, nobody can attack you from the back. And when he hit that circle, and the people came, the Roman army came, with 10 people each in a circle. They pushed them until they broke up. And Abu Bakr al-Jarrah was worried. And Abu Sufyan told him, wait to see the mercy of Allah. And then they saw the Romans running. 60,000 running away from 60 men. When they went back, the Romans felt ashamed. How can 60 men push back 60,000? They said it's because of the Arab, they weren't trained, the soldiers weren't, we're going to attack them. They did a full-fledged, huge attack. Army pushed in. And they pushed in all the way to where the tents of the Muslims were. Meaning that's where the women were. The ones that were taking care of the sick. And so they pushed all this way. Ikrimah. Who is Ikrimah? He's the son of Abu Jahl. The son of the Fir'aun of this ummah, the enemy of Allah, the enemy of the Prophet, Ikrimah. He's the son of Abu Jahl, but he's a mu'min, he is a believer, he is a Muslim, he is a Sahabi, he's standing, he sees this, he takes out his sheet, he breaks it. He takes off his helmet. He said, that's it. We will not let them get to our women. And he said, who will give bay'ah upon my hand to fight till death or victory? Khalid Walid saw him, he said, no, don't. Because right now, when this is the battle still going on, I don't want you going and getting, we need you. He told him, ilayka anni, and he get away from me. Back up off me. He says, you were brave before, what happened? He said, we're fighting for Allah. He said, remember what Umar said? Today we will show what our iman is about. His son, Amr ibn Ikrimah, was the first one to give him bay'ah. And then, Al-Harith ibn Hisham, those Qurashis that used to be the enemies of Allah, today, as fighters, mujahideen, fi sabilillah, they went and stood with them. And they pushed forward. And they broke the Roman ranks. And they pushed back an army of over 200,000. Khalid bin Walid, after the battle, he saw the dead, the shuhada. He saw the Romans rotting. He saw the Muslims there. And he went to look, because they're from the same qabila, Banu Makhzum, Khalid bin Walid and Ikrimah bin Jahl. So they're relatives. And these are human beings. It's not DC or Marvel, this isn't a movie, they don't come back in a part 2 because the twist in the plot. These are human beings with feelings, with families. Sacrifice. When he saw the dead, he saw Amr ibn Ikrimah had already become shaheed. Insha'Allah. And then he saw Ikrimah, his father, the son of Abu Jahl, his relative. He was at that last point of death, to the point that he couldn't see anymore. So when Khalid Walid took water and put it on his lips, put the water on the lips of Ikrimah, who was dying of his thirst, and he's injured. He told him, who is this? He can't even see him. He told him, it's me, it's Khalid. He told him, Khalid, who was the day for? He wasn't like, yo, give me some medical help, you don't see me come out. No, all he was worried about is who was the victory for. Khalid Walid said, Allah has cooled our eyes, meaning Allah has given victory to the believers. Allah has given this miraculous victory to this few thousand against hundreds of thousands. The Romans have been defeated. Ikrimah. He said, then bear witness in front of Allah and tell Umar ibn Khattab that we have sacrificed what we had for the sake of Allah. They became shuhada. They became shuhada. And they became successful. Today, you go to Jordan, you go to Lebanon, you go to Syria, you go to Palestine, you go all the way into Turkey, you see all Muslims. You hear the adhan, you see masajid, you assume this has been the... No! Istanbul, used to be called Constantinople, was the center of the Roman Empire. And that's why when they hear the adhan out loud today there in Sultan Mahmud or Masjid Ahmad, that's why the Europeans are so upset. Because they know they're defeated. And know this, with or without you, Islam will win. Recently, I made this comment in a podcast, and some European Islamophobe politician clipped it, and he's using it in a part of his campaign. See, the Muslims are saying, bro, we're saying it out loud. You didn't get some secret information. This is online. I'm live on 3-4 channels right now. We know the victory is for Allah. The victory in the end is for the believers. Quraysh tried it, Fir'aun tried it, the Russians tried it, the communists tried it, everybody else tried it. You go to Afghanistan, you find the graves of those civilizations there. And know this, Islam will take hold in every household in America and in England. And you can't do anything to stop it. I don't care if it's Trump or Biden. I don't care if it's Sunak or Sunak or whatever, and whoever they elect in Germany and Denmark. You think you can stop the Nusra of Allah? Go read your history. With or without me, and with or without you, the deen will enter every house. Now the question is, are me and you going to be part of that Nusra? Or are me and you going to be those sellouts, sitting around, hiding our identity, ashamed of who we are, trying to set out the religion? No, brother, the Sharia was for that time. If that time was different, now we're in America, brother. In America, no, you know, Sharia, Norway is better than Sharia. This is kufr. If you make statements like this, it's kufr. No, brother, the beard was only because they didn't have blades.
We in 2024.
2024, 3024, whenever Allah takes us, you think Allah didn't know what will happen? You think Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala wasn't a part of the knowledge that there will be a country in America and we're going to be living here, or Europe or whatever? We don't need an American Islam. We can keep that to yourself, Mr. Will. We don't need a modernized Islam. We don't need a progressive Islam. We don't need a gay Islam for sure. We're good with all that. Alhamdulillah. We have the Islam of the Quran. Alhamdulillah. We have the Islam on the Sunnah. Alhamdulillah. We have the Islam on the way of the Salaf al-Ummah. Alhamdulillah. This is enough for us. That's what the Prophet ﷺ was upon. That's what the Sahabah were upon. That's what the great Ai*Immah were upon. That's when we were victorious. That's what we were upon. And every time we go back to that, Allah will make us victorious. And every time we leave that, Allah will humiliate us. In the end, وَعَلَى كُلِّ شَيْءٍ قَدِيرٌ. Allah is qadir on everything. So, with this reminder, and again, I just want to be clear, we're not hiding any of this. We're pretty open about it. So, and we're not going to hide. Why would we hide? Look, you got guys out there wearing dresses, acting like they're women, and they're not ashamed of it. You think I'm ashamed of my beard? Oh, I'm a man. That's how I roll. You got guys out there that are saying that, I don't know, they're non-binary, make up their mind, don't know what gender they are. Go to the bathroom, check. There you go. Why is that a big deal? What's wrong with people nowadays, right? And these are, I don't know, Biden puts to somebody something who's, anyway. We don't care about none of that. Like, we got solutions. You want to fix households? We got solutions. You want to fix society? We got solutions. And we're not ashamed. You know, there's a communist party still in America. As failed of a system as communism has been, there's a communist party in America. There's a socialist party in America. They feel that that's a solution, and they're not ashamed to say it. There are anarchists in America who believe that there should be no government. Antifa and all this stuff, right? You got the KKK here in Georgia, right? Right? And they're not ashamed of their nonsense. Then you got people in California that think they're cats. No, I'm not kidding. I was giving that one about the report. This is not a joke. This whole group came. They're all dressed up like cats, like human beings, dressed up like cats, like licking themselves. What the hell is that? And they're like giving them down. I was like, I don't know. What do you want to give down towards? Bark at them? See how that goes. And they're not ashamed in walking around the park dressed up like cats. They don't use a bathroom. I'm serious. There are bathrooms in Balboa Park. Please get off the lawn. Right? And we're Muslim. Using Jesus walked around with tight jeans and crosses on? No, this is how he dressed. This is how Moses dressed. This is how Paul Abraham dressed. How did they pray? They put their head on the ground. That's what we do. The laws to live with, that's our laws. The Allah they worship is the Allah we worship. Oh, we'll never be ashamed of it. Standing firm on it. Inshallah, by the will of Allah. My brothers and sisters in Islam, today the sacrifice being asked of us is not that much. Look, stand firm on Islam. Give da'wah to your neighbors, to your co-workers, to people around you. Understand that Allah gave you something valuable. And understand that you will die and you will go back to Allah and Allah will ask you, what did you do for my deen? You will come back to us, back to Allah. If you were just to die and finish, that wouldn't be that bad. Khalas, you live, you die, you finish. But that's not it. There's only two destinations. In the final, there is Jannah and An-Nar. Every day you should think, which one am I heading to? Every day. Stand firm on your deen. Stand united on the Quran and the Sunnah without compromise, without watering down anything, without selling out anything. If it's in the Quran, we believe in it and we're proud of it. If it's established for Mustafa alayhi salatu salam, we believe in it and we're proud of it. When you stand firm like that, you will see the nusrah of Allah. We have people today with us in this ummah that used to be the worst enemies of Islam. Today, I'm not talking about the earlier times. And when you ask them what brought them to Islam, when you ask people like Tate, when you ask brothers like Sneaker, what brought them to Islam, it wasn't the people selling out. It wasn't because there were Muslims holding hands with lesbian priestesses. No, it was the firmness of the brothers on the Quran and the Sunnah, the line that we draw, that this is okay, but here we don't play past that. You talk about my mom, we're going to have a problem. You talk about my prophet, we're going to have a bigger problem. I'm just letting you know. We don't play like that. And you can play whatever way you want. We don't play like that. We're Muslim. Not scared of nobody. That's how we roll. And that's how we stand. And when you stand like that, wallahi, you stand like a man. With izzah, with honor. Wallahi, the women of Sahabah, they were more firm on the deen than our ai today. You read their history, don't have time today to get into it, maybe another time. Wallahi, they were firm on the deen. They didn't let anybody mock the deen. They didn't let anybody play with it. Today we have leaders in the community. It's their right to make fun of the Prophet. Who gives them that right? Who gave them that right? Allah didn't give them that right. The Prophet didn't give them that right. The Sharia didn't give them right. They don't have that right. You don't want me to talk about the Holocaust, but you can talk about whatever you want? No. You're going to play it fair, bro. You can talk about whatever, then I can talk about whatever. If you don't want me talking about it, then you better watch your step. You can say whatever, but there's consequences. Just letting you know. Talk about my mom, there's consequences. Freedom of speech, but there's consequences. If I knock you out, then it's on you, bro. You won't do it again, huh? May Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala give us istiqamah on the deen. Apologize for saying something that I shouldn't have. It is what it is. Inshallah, we'll open up to questions and answers. I know we'll probably have some online hate coming through. Welcome.
Sheikh, we have 2 non-Muslim visitors. I want to give them priority, inshallah.
MashaAllah. Somebody's not Muslim. I know we have somebody that wants to take Shahada online as well. But inshallah, if anybody's non-Muslim and has questions, ask.
Brother Derek, you want to come to the front? If you have any questions, just feel free to ask anything you wish, anything you want to know. You know, the floor is open. Any question is...
No pressure.
No pressure.
If you got anything, go ahead. If not, we can talk privately.
We have another brother, I forgot his name. He's also here.
MashaAllah. Sorry, we won't put him on the spot. Let him ask their question.
Okay.
If you guys have questions, we'll give you precedence, man. You're special like that.
Inshallah.
Anybody else? Muslims, online people? Go ahead. You got a question?
In the principle, is Marxism or communism haram? I argue it is, but I'd like you to expand and give your perspective.
Every ism is haram. Every ism. We don't believe in ism, right? We believe in Sharia-ism, right? Because Marxism, socialism, communism, capitalism, this ism, that ism, these are all man-made ideas. And that's why none of them are actually independently implemented anyway. In the sense, pure communism. And I've studied communism. I've studied the works of Lenin and Marx and all of that, right? When you look at pure communism, the idea that everybody would be equal, right? Meaning that a doctor and a janitor would have the same kind of house, the same kind of clothes, the same kind of car. If you implement that, why the hell would I spend 12 years studying to be a doctor if I make the same money sweeping the street, right? And that's why that was never successful and never implemented. And even in the USSR, when the Soviet Union, their leaders didn't live like their peasants. Right? That wasn't, I mean, you think Fidel Castro lived the same as the most broke guy in the streets of Cuba? No, they didn't. They may talk a good game, but it's not practical because it would make people lazy. It would make people not work hard. Now, capitalism, on the other hand, was a different ideology, which I think is a good ideology in essence, that yes, you work. But the problem with capitalism also, it cannot be utilized without checks and balances. Because if you let capitalism go loose with big fish eat little fish, then I could rip you off and win my money and be like, yo, your problem being ripped off. But we don't have that. We have, even in America, we don't have a purely capitalistic society, nor in the world does it have it, because it wouldn't work. It would be incredibly cruel, right? You would have no social welfare, you would have no free medicine, you would have none of that in a purely capitalistic society. All those isms are human-made. People come up with these ideas. And people's ideas are wrong. I mean, I'll give you an example, right? Today, what's your name, brother?
Abdurrahman.
Abdurrahman. I'm going to pick on you a little bit. You all right?
For sure.
You sure?
Yes.
All right. Abdurrahman, if you found out that I had slaves, like actual slaves, not people working in my house, and I beat them too, whipped them, right? I'm just saying, bro, that ain't so far from me. Careful what you say, right? Now, if you found that out, would you follow me? Would you respect me?
I couldn't.
You wouldn't, right?
Yes.
Why? Because it's immoral. Having slaves and beating them and not paying them and being cruel to them. Do you have a wallet? Do you have a dollar bill?
No, I mean right now. No.
Have you seen a dollar bill?
Yes.
Who's on it?
It's a bunch of.
George Washington.
Yeah, yeah. You're talking about the face.
George Washington. Yes, picture. George Washington. He had slaves. And he was very cruel to them. Beat them, whipped them, raped them actually. In fact, the only I read this, I don't know if it's correct, that the only children of Jordan that are actually still around are from his slave. You know? But he's on your dollar bill. Who's on Rushmore? One of the faces is his, right? Who's the father of America? You have a President's Day for him, right? Well, what happened? Well, at that time, slavery was legal. Does that make it okay? No. So this is the thing. You have humans changing the rules whenever they want, right? George Washington would have been driven crazy by gay marriage, but today, go to California, bro. Right? So what does that tell you? Humans change these things because none of those are perfect systems. But the laws of Allah, what Allah has revealed is perfect. Why? Because it's not from humans. It's the laws of Allah. So as Muslims, we think that's the best. What's the best way to rule? By what Allah has revealed. أليس الله بأحسن الحاكمين أحكم الحاكمين. Best, nothing better to be able to rule by except from what Allah has revealed. So for a Muslim to be like, no, communism is better, or Marxism is better, or socialism is better, is wrong. It's kufr, it's wrong. Right? We say all those are human ideas. There may be some positive aspects to it and negative aspects to it, but we're not about all that. We're about Quran, Sunnah.
So as it relates to what you just mentioned, as Muslim minorities in this country, do you advocate, like, you know, for example, there's another minority, the Yahud. They acclimated themselves into this country and then they got into politics and then they, you know, get their interests met, even internationally.
Right.
How do you recommend for the future of Muslims in this country?
That's a very deep question. I'm gonna give you a short answer, although I mean, this could be a subject by itself. Muslims in this country have to set a good example to benefit the country, not to use it. The example of the Yahud is not a good example because they didn't benefit the country, they used it, right? I'm going to be real about it. I don't care about being canceled. And again, like I said, if you don't want to invite me back, I'm good too. Right? Right? Look at the porn industry. Look at the filth that goes on. Many of those are used for political money generating to use our tax dollars to things that we wouldn't want our tax dollars to do. So we as Muslims don't want to follow that role model. Because we're not trying to harm society. We want to help society. We're here to make a better tomorrow for America, for any country that we live in, right? So we're not going to follow that political game of, you know, taking the market housing through loops so that people can become homeless and then we can make money off banking and all that. No. Instead, we're going to advise people with good. We're not going to join a system that is harming society. We need to fix the system, right? So if we, for example, take part in certain elections because there's a maslahah, there is a greater good, you could make that argument. And I'll leave that to the scholars to decide per situation. That's not my job, that's the job of scholars. But what I see today is the Muslims that become a part of the system, they set out the religion, right? You see somebody like, this sister is going to be in the Congress and is going to bring victory to Islam, and then I see us LGBT pride parade dancing. And I'm like, what happened here? You know, like, I'm not seeing anything better in my life from it, right? So that's not the solution, right? But as Muslims, first off, we need to unite. Not unite upon selling out, unite upon the Quran and the Sunnah. Secondly, we need to go to our elected officials, we need to go to our governors and say, hey, look, we want to help, right? You have the issue with the housing bubble, where you have this, I mean, so not so much maybe here, but in California, the homeless population is insane right now, right? Well, if there wasn't the riba-based banking system, you wouldn't have this problem. Like if you had to dish out $1 million for a medium house in California, cash, who would be able to do that? Nobody. So then houses wouldn't be $1 million. You could afford a house then, right? So you see what I'm saying? We need to then bring solutions. You have a breakdown in society today, where women are no longer the nurturing mothers and fabric of society that they used to be. Men are no longer leading as good examples as they used to be. You know, I mean, I'm going to be real about this, right? You remember like in the 50s and the 60s, how were the TV shows? You had strong men John Wayne, whatever they did at home, whatever, right? But their character, right? You had Leave It to Beaver's dad. He was a man. He would go out and work. And he would give good advice to his son, and the mom would be cooking and helping and cleaning and being a nurturing mother. And then what happened? You had Homer Simpson. Right? You had the Family Guy. You had Al Bundy, and they were morons. They were fools. They were nothing. And you see that structure, and this wasn't on accident. Hollywood is also run by a certain demographic. Let's just leave it at that, right? So it destroyed the structure of society. So now we got school shootings, and it's not the guns that are doing it, right? You know the country called Switzerland, right? In Switzerland, you can look this up, by law, every household has to have a gun. Because they don't have an army, right? So that's their defense. Every household. When is the last time you heard of a school shooting in Switzerland? Right? Pashtun, our area, we got more guns than people. When's the last time you heard one of us going into a theater and shooting it up? You don't. Because it's not the gun. That's not, again, this is like blaming a spoon for you being fat. Right? Put the spoon down, relax, right? So, the problem in society is the breakdown of the family structure. We as Muslims need to give solutions. We know what the gender role of a man should be. It's in the Quran. It's in Hadith. We know what the role of a woman should be. It's in the Quran. It's in Hadith. So if we were to bring those solutions to America, we can better society. Other minorities and demographics have used the system for their advantage, sending out their own religion, sending out their own people for political cause. We're not going to follow that system. We're good.
I got a question.
Go ahead.
I'm sorry, if you want to ask. First of all, thank you for coming here. I really appreciate it. We all appreciate it.
Pleasure being here.
I've asked this question to other people as well. I haven't got a good answer, so I'll ask again. We've talked about the West. I want to go towards the Muslim countries. You're from Pakistan. You were born there. I have family there. I was born here, but I grew up there. I go back there every 2 years, and I talk to my friends, and they have like the free thinking society. They have whole society. They have their own ideologies. My friends like, hey, I'm he. I'm he, them, call me this now. I'm like, you're like, yeah, of course.
What is that in Urdu?
ये भी है कि वो है भी या नहीं है, because that's the whole thing. But my whole thing is that it's becoming a problem.
Yeah.
You travel all the way. It's a problem.
Yeah.
I just want to know, how do you counter that? Because Islam has a bad rep in Pakistan, especially amongst the young women there, right? Because you know that they think that, because certain men in my life or their life have acted towards them in a certain way, therefore Islam teaches this, therefore Islam is bad, so I'm not going to believe in a religion now.
Sure.
I've got my own ideology and everything. So how do you think we got to look at the root cause, right?
The same way here, we educate them, right? Look, whether you're in Pakistan or in China or America, the solution is the same. Bring people back to the Quran, bring people back to the Sunnah. The problem in Pakistan, to be honest, is one that, I'm going to offend all of Pakistan now, great. Most Pakistanis don't know Islam. Most Pakistani ulama don't know Islam. The madrasa system is broken. It's basically an orphanage, right? So if you don't have money, you're Pakistani, right?
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah, I am.
So think through this. If I ask your parent, your child is very intelligent and very good and super good in school, what are you going to do? We're going to make them what?
Doctor, a doctor or something.
Engineer,
Yeah, exactly.
possibly a pilot, maybe a
Maybe that makes
dentist,
more
right?
money, right? Yeah.
None of them will ever say, I want him to be an alim. So who's in the madrasa? The ones that couldn't afford to go to school. The ones that either don't have parents. And then they don't want to be in madrasa. And they get beat in those madaris. I've been there. It's horrible, right? So they don't, even the people studying don't really love what they're studying. They don't know Arabic. They don't know Hadith. Like when they graduate, and not all madaris, obviously they're great madaris as well, but many of the majority or many or whatever, they graduate, but it's like a factory. They're just pumping them out. And you speak to I was speaking to a class that was the muftis. like past madrasa, mufti, graduating class. And I spoke to him in Arabic and वो मुझे कहता है अरबी आती है जाती नहीं है.
I've heard you talk to certain people from Pakistan, not that name anymore, and
They said that I can understand Arabic, but I can't speak it, right? And I'm like, but you're a mufti, like that's what you're supposed to do, right? So the issue there being we need to educate people, and alhamdulillah there are many good ulama who are doing great work in Pakistan. And I would say that Pakistani society is becoming more religious, not less religious, because if you go back to the Yahya Khan times, people used to drink alcohol openly at youth time and other times. You know, there used to be Islamabad club, whatever, they drinking, discos. We don't have that today. And today, alhamdulillah, there's like Al-Huda and many organizations that are doing a great job amongst the educated, rich class of Pakistan as well, bringing them back towards Islam and so on. There's, I think, a youth club or something as well. You know, like, so there's a lot of people that are doing good work. So the same thing here, the same thing in Bosnia, the same thing in Pakistan, and the same thing in Chechnya, and the same thing in Saudi, and the same thing everywhere else. We educate the youth, we bring them back to what is Islam? Islam is not what you saw in practice. It's not what your uncle did. Islam is what's in the Quran, what the Prophet ﷺ did, what the Sahabah and did. And when we bring that Islam, then of course whoever wants to follow the truth will. And whoever doesn't, Allah doesn't need him. Look, Abu Lahab never became Muslim. Abu Jahl never became Muslim. Fir'aun's wife was a mu'mina. Fir'aun was kafir. Right? I mean, Nuh alayhi salam's son, right? Ibrahim alayhi salam's father, Lut alayhi salam's wife. What does that tell you? Allah doesn't need you. If somebody's like, I don't know, he, her, whatever, I say, okay, come on, go. Hell's hot. What else can we tell you?
They're blind.
Yeah.
Sheikh,
Thank you.
how we can copy Birmingham, UK? Like,
Birmingham? Why do you want to copy Birmingham?
no, not this one, not this one.
No, I mean UK too. They got great food, but
No, I'm talking about Muslim society. Like, you can walk outside in the streets.
Birmingham Sheikh. I love the buzz in Birmingham.
Yeah.
Look, the best thing is to copy the design of the Prophet ﷺ. Right? We come together. We built the first thing the Prophet ﷺ did when he went to Medina. He built a masjid. Before he wasn't worried about his own house, he worried about the masjid, right? And he built the community around the masjid. Our brothers in Bradford and Birmingham and others, they've done the same thing. They've Muslim communities been together. In America, I don't know what's wrong with this. We all like to live away from each other. You know? Muslims just like to be in little, private areas and all that, golf clubs.
Fancy neighborhood.
Yeah, all that. And I mean, look, buy up a fancy neighborhood. Like Muslims got money. It's not that we don't, right? We're the engineers. You go to any hospital, you see Dr. Khan and Dr. all that, right? So, but we do need to build societies and communities and come together and be on the Quran and the Sunnah and be united. And how will we unite? Uniting is not, okay, you follow me or I follow you. No. The uniting is we go to the Quran, we go to the Sunnah, we go to the way of Salaf al-Ummah, and that's what will unite us. And as we come together on that, inshallah, we have more numbers of Muslims in America than the UK.
No, but I was thinking it's just because the UK is like similar to the United States, is a Western country, and we are minority here, so that's why I was wondering how we can do it. But I appreciate it.
Same thing, just come together.
First and foremost, I want you to know I love you for the sake of Allah, Sheikh.
May Allah love you as you love me for His sake.
My brother, it's not out of riyadh, but the brother from me, he got me out of my bed this morning to come almost 400 miles. Fisabilillah, man. Him and his son, man. MashaAllah.
May Allah reward you for every
Allahumma ameen, man. Inshallah, Ashabu Jannah, inshallah. But my question is this, Sheikh. Why all over the Islamic world, these Islamic leaders are not going to help the people of Philistine?
Great question. Why are the leaders of the Muslim world not helping the people of Palestine? Allah, you have to ask them that question. I don't know. I cannot say that if I was in their place, what I would do. It's very easy for me to say it right now. Sitting here, I'll be like, if I was in their place, I'd be like, yo, army, let's go. I don't know. So Allah didn't test me with that. Right? Every one of us has a test. That's their test. I'm not worried about their test. I'm worried about my test. What am I doing for the people of Palestine? What am I doing for Quran? What am I doing for the Sunnah? What am I doing for the Ummah? What am I doing? Because I'm sick of the scapegoating society that we've developed. Where we just sit there, this scholar, why didn't he do it? This king, why didn't he do it? Why this guy, why? I don't know. And if they call me, wallahi, if any leader of the Muslim world wants to call me for my advice, I'm ready. I'll pay my own ticket, and I'll go and give them that advice, and let's go. I'm ready to go if they're ready to go. Right? Let's do it. Right? We're Pashtuns, we're always ready for this. Right? But at the same time, my daily life is not going to be based on what they're doing. I'm like, you know, a long time ago, and this is, I'm talking about like, probably 10, 20 years ago, I just stopped all this watching the news and worrying about what people are doing. I mean, I watch the news in the sense of, I want to know what's going on, but in the end, I said, okay, what can I do? Because if I sit around my living room talking about this king, why isn't he doing it, what's that going to help? That king doesn't care what I think. I said, you know what, I'm going to go to a park, I'm going to talk to people about Islam. And that's it, and that's how we started. And if I see somebody and they want to talk about Palestine, I educate them. Right? I got a social media platform, I talk about it. I raise my voice about it, right? That's what I can do, and that's what I'm going to do. And I'm going to keep doing it, and I want you guys to join me in it. And we'll do it together. That's it. And then, from the voices of the weak, from the rubble of Gaza, you will see the victory of Allah will enter the house. We believe in this, and we're seeing it. Today you have thousands of people across America and the UK and Germany and Europe becoming Muslims that would have never even thought about Islam because they see the iman of the people of Gaza. Now if you're a leader and you have authority and you're not helping, fear Allah. Allah will hold you accountable. That's it. I make dua for them, that Allah guides them, and I make dua that Allah uses me the best that I can to fix situations.
First, I want to speak about here in America and with brothers in general, even with brothers in here. Because like I spoke to you before, I'm real firm on brotherhood, right? So, and being real. So the thing and the problem with a lot of brothers, like a lot of people will say, oh, I'm going to do this, or why they can't help this and why they can't help that. But then when it comes to the local masjids, you got imams not even kicking up for the brothers that don't even know how to pray. Right. You got imams just letting people just do whatever they want in the masjids, right? And then some brothers, you will ask them questions and they get offended, right? So how can we as Muslims come together here first? Bump what's going on around the world. Let's get what's right here. You get what I'm saying? So wherever we're at, let's get right here first. Like you got brothers praying, not even moving their lips. Yeah. You got brothers rushing through the salats, and then imams that see it won't even say nothing. It's just alhamdulillah and walk off. Yeah. You get what I'm saying? How can we come together as a group and as a people and take culture out of religion? Right. Stop making it seem like just because you're from somewhere you can read a lot of Quran that you know the deen when you can't even pray right. What can we do as Muslims that's right here now? And then even when you go wherever else you go, and then talk to them about right here and stop worrying about what's on the news. Fix what's here first. Right. Because just like like the hadith is like when you're supposed to fix yourself before you go and fix the world.
You see an evil, change it with your hand, right in front of you. Right. So that's a great point. We as Muslims have to fix the societies we're living in, and whatever we physically can affect. Right. Meaning, alhamdulillah, you have a beautiful community here. I prayed Jummah here before I came, and I loved the khutbah. And I mean, I came out this Jummah, I was here myself, and the khutbah wasn't that great because I gave it. But alhamdulillah, you have a beautiful society, right? So what you need to do is to go to your imam, mashallah, good brother, and good community, and say, look, here's the problem we're facing. Let's sit down and fix it, right? And as you grow with that, right? Atlanta's a beautiful Muslim community, growing, right? I mean, I haven't spent that much time there to know all the ins and outs, but I see a society, I see a community that has a lot of potential, right? First thing, we need to stop dividing ourselves on silly things, This guy is, from this part of this world, and this guy's from this part. Bro, you all eat the same thing, you all sleep the same time, let it go, right? Sit down. Like, this is the point of Hajj. When you go for Hajj, you see everybody wearing the same thing. You see people going through the same procedures. That's why Malik Shabazz, Allah have mercy on him, brother Malcolm X, what changed him, as you can read in his works, when he saw in Hajj that when you're in the ihram, you can't even tell who's from what, right? I mean, I met a brother from Finland. I was like, there's Muslims in Finland? Like that's crazy, right? And if I looked at him, I couldn't tell the difference between him and somebody from New York, right? So what did I tell you? They need raw human rights. All that nationalism and all that culture is out the door, right? What is important? What does Allah tell us in the Quran? What does the Prophet ﷺ tell us, right? And to be honest, I would say, in my opinion, that brothers who revert many times know the religion much better because they take the time to study it better, right? Other people just assume because they saw their grandfather praying, that your grandfather was an illiterate farmer, bro. He didn't know how to pray. So let that go. You know? So that's the thing. The solution is right there. We sit together, we're not just to backbite each other. No, we sit down, we say, okay, you're our imam, you're our board, you're our leaders. Here's the problem we're facing. Let's work together. What can I do? Right? That's in our message is how we roll with it. We said, look, you see a problem, don't sit there and talk about it. Come to me with a solution. And if you ain't got a solution, then keep it to yourself. So I can tell you problems, right? That doesn't do anything, right? Bring me a solution. If you got a solution, means you're going to sit down, we're going to work at it. And if it don't work out, we'll try something else. And bit by bit, we'll solve this puzzle, right? And we're never going to be perfect, right? But as long as we divide each other on madhhab, on culture, on race, none of that's going to solve anything. You know, and that division goes to such an extent that it shocks me at times. You know, when I was growing up, they had this Arab Muslim youth thing in our city, you know. And then they were like, yo, you want to go? I was like, I'm not Arab, bro. Why would I go? Okay. Oh, no, you can go. No, I'm good. Like, I don't need a pass, bro. I'm good, right? So then, alhamdulillah, we worked on finishing that. So now we don't have that anymore, right? We had an Afghani masjid, right? We went and worked with them and told them, look, you can't be an Afghani masjid. You're a masjid, right? It can't be based on nationalism. Then we had Somali masajid. And the Somali masajid divided amongst themselves. There was the Hawiya masjid and the Durud masjid and the Ibn Ishaq masjid. You're like, whoa, man, you guys, like, this is ridiculous. That's not masajid al-lillah. That's for Allah. Then you got brothers coming out, we want a black masjid. What's a black masjid? You know? We want a... Yeah, we got this whole community thing, black masajid only. What does that mean? I mean, imagine if somebody's like, I want a white masjid. Like, you know, like this is all nonsense. Look, I don't care if you're Bosnian or Albanian, sorry. To me, you're my brother. If you're Muslim, you're my brother. That's it. Right? If you're Muslim, you're on the Quran Sunnah, you're my brother. That's it. My masjid in San Diego, we don't care what country you came from. We don't care what language you speak. Our board is whoever is qualified. That's it. That's all that matters, right? And that's how we roll. That's how the Quran. Look at the Sahabah. Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam made such a change. Battle of Yarmouk was black, African, slave, free, all of that. He was made Amir of Sham. He was the Amir of Sham. Sham was the whitest, richest, most influential area of the world in the Middle East. And nobody, I was reading history, because I taught the seerah, nobody even ever brought up whether he was black or white. Nobody cared, right? Nobody cared he was an Arab. Nobody cared which tribe, you know, that stuff. Even when in a battle, the Ansar and Muhajirun, these are both crazy people. The people who made Nusra and Medina and those that made Hijrah. Even when two of their youth got into it, and they were like, yo, Muhajirun help me, and one said Ansar, the Prophet got so upset, he said, you are saying a statement of Jahiliyyah, and I'm still amongst you. And then verily, the brothers, the believers are brothers. So if somebody calls towards nationalism, as Sheikh ibn Uthman said, Sheikh ibn Baz, this is a statement of Jahiliyyah, of kufr, of what pre-Islamic. So we hope that by the will of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, this beautiful community that I see here, this diverse community, this beautifully mixed community, that's how we're going to roll. And that's how it's going to go, because that's what Islam does.
And can you still push on that though with the praying? Because that's very important.
I'm with it, man.
I'm saying, can you say like how it is because you really got to say this. Brothers don't raise their hands sometimes.
Yeah. So if you want to pray, I have a series on YouTube about how the Prophet prayed. Evidence is based, right? And I'm sure that Mirza and the brothers here have better durus than myself here. We all need to learn the prayer in the way of the Prophet. There's many aspects of that that many of us may be lacking in, and it's the responsibility of the more knowledgeable and the du'at and the tulab ilm and the shuyukh to educate the community to fix that, inshallah.
He's talking about the whole Muslims community, not about only this.
So you gotta start with what's in front of you.
This, I never came there. Yeah, no, I'm not talking about here. I'm talking about in general. Like,
But that's
I mean here, like in America.
but that's the point.
This is my second time here. I never.
If we start with whichever locality we're in, we'll fix all of it. Inshallah. Brother Brown.
Assalamu alaikum.
Alaikum salam.
Again, thank you for coming here.
Jazakallah.
I love you for the sake of Allah.
May Allah love you as you love me.
My question is, I'm trying to learn as much as I can. I got a full-time job and everything. So how do you as a madhhab wise? Can I see some people, they follow certain madhhabs, and some people they don't follow any madhhab. They go the stronger hadith they can possibly. So
Right.
from a big perspective, how do you is it first who's trying to learn? How do I should I just stick with one madhhab?
9 o'clock.
Okay. I was going to say it's a long answer, but okay. I got your question. So the question is about whether you should follow a madhab or not, and how should you, if you're a regular layman,
Yes.
right? You're not. I have a video on this as well, and I'm not trying to promote the video, but just because I'm going to give you a short answer now for detail the history of the madhahib and why they developed, and you can watch it with references and all of that. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala has ordained upon us in the Quran, Atiullah wa Rasul, right? Obey Allah and His Messenger. So in the end, that is your ultimate loyalty. Obey Allah, the Quran, right? Because Allah doesn't speak to you from Wahi, you have the Quran, right? And obey His Messenger, what does that mean? You follow the authentically established ahadith. Why? Because you don't talk to the Prophet regularly, right? No. I hope not. No, you gotta talk to you outside, bro. So Quran and Sunnah, that's an obligation. Fardhan, you must follow. And then those that Allah has put an authority over you, in the sense that those scholars that are there, that are Ahlul Dhikr, the ones who give you evidences, to follow them is an obligation upon us, right? So, in that sense, if somebody follows a madhab, in the sense of, okay, they're learning through mutun, like certain texts, right? Nothing wrong with it, it's a structure, it's a path. But it's not the goal. What's the goal? قال الله وقال رسول عليه الصلاة والسلام, right? Some people make the path the goal. Right? For example, if I was going to go to Atlanta from here, what freeway do I take? 360? Still don't even know. 365 or 360?
360 and 85.
85, let's just take 85, right? So, if I get on the 85, and I'm like, man, this is a beautiful freeway. Look how nice it is. It is clean. And look how wide the roads are. How beautifully painted it is. And I get to Atlanta, and I just jump right back on the exit, and I'm driving back. And you call me, bro, you in Atlanta? And I'm like, no, I just love the freeway. It's so nice. And you're like, yeah, but you're supposed to go to Atlanta. Brother, how dare you insult the freeway? Well, I'm not insulting the freeway, but you're supposed to get to Atlanta. You have something to do. I was like, brother, look at the paint. This is beautiful. The madhab is a path to get you to what the Prophet did. Every madhab, every imam, Abu Hanifa and Malik and Shafi and Ahmad and Dawud al-Zahiri and al-Awza'i, all of them, none of them were like, I want to develop a madhab. No, they wanted to, okay, how did the Prophet pray? How did he fast? And they developed usul on how to do it, how to get to that goal. And each one of them said, al-Hadith hadith, the more authentic, established hadith is my madhab. In different wording, but all of them, the same thing has been reported from, right? So if you follow the path and you get to the goal, great. Doesn't matter which path, right? Get to the goal. But if you make the path the goal, and you just keep jumping back on it, and you never get to the road, and you're like, yeah, Allah is in the Quran, brother. In my madhab, we don't. Brother, I just told you, Allah says in the Quran, brother, my grandfather didn't do it. You do it? You don't know my grandfather? I don't. Don't need to. I'm good, right? So, as a layman, don't worry about that. What you should worry about is finding a good sheikh. A good scholar of the Quran, the Sunnah, who's qualified, who tries to ask them questions, they'll give you an answer. That's your life. In reality, People don't really know what madhab means. I could ask you guys what madhab, and you could raise your hand and be like, I'm Shafi'i or Maliki, and if I ask you, name me 5 books of the Shafi'i fiqh, you probably wouldn't know. You could say I'm Hanafi all day long, I'd ask you what's Abu Hanifa's actual name, you wouldn't know. So, in reality, you don't know the madhab, you just got a name somewhere, right? Don't worry about all that. Get a good scholar, ask him, he'll give you evidences, take the answer. Now that scholar may have studied through a madhab, or may use the usul of madhab, that's okay. But the evidences are what the most important thing. But again, as a layman, you shouldn't also be like, I follow the strongest hadith. Okay, brother, how do you know hadith is stronger than others? You don't know, right? So that means you're not a mujtahid either, right? So don't overstep your bounds. Like one brother came up to me and was like, brother, I follow the hadith that is strong. Like, what makes hadith strong? I don't know. All right, bro, well, then ask the people of knowledge. I think we'll take some online as well. Any questions, Yusuf?
Yeah, but they're a little higher up now.
We'll take this and come with a couple.
Allah bless you. So, over here, a lot of the brothers, unfortunately, do not know about the wala wal bara'a and the importance of it. So, if it's possible for you to expand on it.
The whole khutbah. To have, of course, I mean, it's a big subject. We had a whole conference on this before. But in essence, we unite and stand together and show our loyalty based on Islam, based on Iman, based on the Quran, based on the Sunnah, and we disassociate ourselves with that which is outside of that. We don't, if somebody is out there doing shirk, kufr, or somebody is fighting Islam, or somebody is against the Sunnah of the Prophet ﷺ, we don't stand with them, not for political gain, and not for family ties, and not for nationalism, and not for any of that, right? And if we see somebody standing on the haqq, on the truth, we stand with them. That's the essence of it, right? Now, past that, of course, it's a whole subject. We could do a week-long series on it. But the most important thing with that is ask the people of knowledge. You have brothers who studied here. You have brothers who are teaching here. Go and learn the aqa'id from them. Go and learn the belief from them. Learn these aspects from them and implement them in your life. We have to be based on knowledge, right? Today, everything is based on emotion. Oh, I like this guy. Well, it's not about liking him or not liking him. It's about what's he all about. Is he about the Quran and the Sunnah? Is he about the word Salaf al-Ummah? Or is he about trying to change up your religion, right? That's how who we stand with and why we stand with, got to be based on that.
I know that car insurance is haram, but you can get it by necessity, the minimum. But what about healthcare? Because it's very expensive. So if you don't have it, you're almost always...
Gotcha. Regarding insurance, I mean, the first thing to understand is if insurance paid you what you put into it, they would never offer it to you. Like all these insurance companies, how do you think they make their money? If what you put into it, you got out of it, they would be out of business. So the whole system is set up to take advantage of it, right? So that's something you should understand. If you want to save money for, a hardship that may come, save your own money, right? We tawakkal on Allah, we depend on Allah, and that's the right way. Now, having said that, insurance is not like riba. There is a difference, right? Riba is obviously a much more serious issue. So if you are, like I'm from California, right? We are mandated to have insurance. We have to have health insurance. We have to have car insurance. We can't drive without it, right? And now, I don't know if the Obamacare stuff is still in play or not. I don't really care. But if you are mandated that you must have it, then it's dawah, right? Take the minimum. If you have some kind of health condition that, you have a specific situation, speak to your local scholars and they can give you a fatwa. Generally, what I can tell you is, insurance is not an Islamic concept, right? But, like the scholars have said, if it's a necessity for you to drive a car, which it is, I mean, you can't take public transport in America much, so you need to be able to drive, you need insurance, get the minimum. If you are mandated by your state to have health insurance, get the minimum. Past that, whatever situation you have, speak to a scholar about your particular situation.
Live question?
Live question.
Sheikh, assalamu alaikum. The hadith regarding the beard tell us not to imitate the Jews and the Christians as well as the Maijans. Majus. If the Jews are growing a beard or some style of beard, does that negate the beard?
Great question. Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam ordered us to trim the mustache and grow the beard and not imitate those other kuffar that do the opposite, right? And if the kuffar do that, like today, generally, a lot of non-Muslims have beards, does that mean that we don't have to grow them? No. Because the order is there. The order is there. And when Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam orders something, we stick to it. If, like for example, Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam ordered us as Muslim men that we cannot wear gold, right? And he said, "Lahum fil dunya wa lakum fil akhirah." Even about eating in dishes of gold and silver, that it's for them, meaning for the kuffar in dunya, and it's for you in the akhirah. So now, if they stop eating it, does that mean we can? No. The Rasulullah already gave the order. When Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam gave an order, we stick to it. He said, for the men, trim the mustache, grow the beard. That's it. We stick to it. Now what others do is no longer relevant. And having said that, still till today, the majority of the people of Yahud and Nasara and the fire worshippers and the Jews and all of that, till today they continue to keep their mustaches and shave the beard generally. Right? Even amongst the Yahud, there's very few that actually stick to keeping the beard and stuff. The majority do not. Right? So as Muslims, we have to stick to the order of the Prophet ﷺ, or men, grow the beard. And it looks good.
Is Muhammad, peace and blessings be upon him, mentioned in Hindu books? What about your views on Kalki Avatar? Kalki Avatar?
Kalki Avatar. Regarding the references to the Prophet ﷺ in Hindu scriptures, entire books have been written on it. And in my own research, I do believe that the Prophet Muhammad ﷺ has been referenced in Hindu scriptures, but a lot of that has been corrupted as well. Meaning Hindu scriptures are not preserved either. Right? So we're not depending on that. Just like the Prophet ﷺ, no doubt, was mentioned in the Jewish scriptures and the Christian scriptures, and many of the Sahabah who used to be Jews and Christians, they saw that reference and they became Muslim. And we have this in our history. Now today, exactly where is it in the New Testament? I don't know. Right? There are references about the Comforter, and we can make that argument back and forth, but no doubt that it existed. And the same is true for the Hindu scripture. Muslim scholars have written entire books very clearly showing, I've got a video as well, where it clearly shows references to the Prophet ﷺ. But we don't depend on that. We're not worried about that. We know the Prophet ﷺ is the true Prophet of Allah. It's in the Quran. And that's enough for us. We know the Prophet ﷺ had miracles. It's something historically documented. Splitting of the moon. I've got a video. We give all the references. And we believe in that. Go ahead, young man.
Sheikh, may Allah bless you for coming all the way out here. What is your opinion on boycotting Israeli products? Do you think it's easy or kind of difficult?
That's a good question. What's my opinion on boycotting products that support the state of Israel against the people of Palestine? We should. Anything we can do to help our brothers and sisters in Palestine, why not? Right? Is it easy or difficult? I think it's pretty easy. Nothing that I really need to survive off of. Right? I can drink water. I don't need Coke and Pepsi. Right? It's probably healthier for me anyway. So whatever we can do, we should do. Having said that, we should make sure it's productive, right? Meaning that if we're not going to shop at a particular place, we need to let them know why. And then we should have alternatives. You can't just tell people, don't do this, don't do this, don't do this. They're like, what should I do, right? So letting us know which companies are better in their dealing with the issues in Palestine and supporting them is equally as important as not supporting those that are helping harm our brothers and sisters. And it shouldn't be rumor based. It should be factual based. And don't think that's enough. And one of the things I don't want today, like, okay, I don't drink Pepsi or Coke. Okay, I've done my part. No. A lot more needs to be done, and we need to keep working on that. But if we can't do it, why not? I don't think it's very difficult. Go ahead.
Jazakallah khair for coming here, and may Allah reward you for it. What advice do you give for the brothers and sisters that are for voting age and what regarding the upcoming election?
What's my advice if you're voting age for the upcoming election? Cry? I don't know. I mean, I don't see a Muslim, to be honest. I don't see Biden or Trump any better than the other.
Right.
One's gonna slap you smilingly, and one's gonna slap you frowningly, but they're
Front
both
hand
gonna
and
slap you,
backhand.
right? Front hand, backhand,
Still a
hand
slap.
whatever, right? So, I mean, I don't know. I mean, I honestly feel depressed when I think about our nation having just these two options, right? You have one option that is the first convicted felon to run for president, and you have the other option that doesn't know what a convicted felon is anymore. He doesn't exactly know where he's at. I don't know. I don't know. I'm not a conspiracy theorist. I like facts. I'm not saying conspiracy can't be true, but I just like facts, right? But there is a conspiracy that President doesn't really matter, Illuminati going in the background, and I'm kind of hoping that's true right now, because none of those two options.
What it's
look
leading
great.
to. It's what it's leading.
Great. Well, I hope the Illuminati have
Yeah.
better mindsets than these guys, because looking at Trump and Biden, I'm not supporting either one. I'm not voting for either one. I'm good. I'm going to vote for myself as
Well,
Khalifa.
that was kind of my question.
Uthman for Khalifa of America.
Well, that was kind of my question. Is like, what do you advise us as
Right
Muslim
in.
Ummah?
Uthman for Khalifa. Go ahead, brother.
Yes, sir. We know that this Constitution was enforced by the Holy Quran.
Yes.
Thomas Jefferson slept with it up under his head.
Yeah, the Quran, yes.
So how can we, as individuals in this right now, make a better effort? Allah bless you with great success with Dawah. We need to make a better effort with Dawah.
Yes.
And based on the Quran, and Sunnah, what would you advise us?
That's a great, first thing, a good comment, that the Constitution of the United States was influenced by the Quran. We see references to Thomas Jefferson and his Quran as well. And much of what we find in the Constitution does seem to reference things that you would find in Islamic texts. Not everything. And the Constitution or the Declaration has very beautiful concepts that weren't implemented by the early fathers of America. Pretty hypocritical, all men are created equal except for my slave, you know. I don't know how that passed by. But I think we as Muslims, in our da'wah, should give the solution to the problems society is facing through the leadership of this country. Like I mentioned about riba and you know, racism and all the stuff that we face, the solution is in Islam. We have the solution. And in that da'wah, we should present that. And the problem that I see is many of our leaders are too scared to speak up. They're too scared to say, yes, the Quran is the solution, the Sunnah is the solution. They're too worried about trying to fit in. And I'm done with that. For me, I don't care about fitting in. I'm not trying to fit nothing, right? I'm about to present to you, this is the solution. The Quran, the way of the Prophet ﷺ, that's what's going to fix the country, that's going to fix the world, that's the only solution, because that's what Allah has ordered. And when we stand on that as a community, we're going to see change across America. But as long as our leaders are too scared, you can't lead when you follow. You follow and stay behind the one you're following, right? I think we'll wrap it up. We can take one online.
Make wudu and everything.
You want a question here?
Sure. That looks like a book.
So, yeah. So I read in Ibn al-Jawzi, rahimahullah's book, Disciplining the Soul, that husbands should not place all his money in their wife's hands, yada yada. And he quoted Surah Nisa, which don't give the foolish your money, which Allah has made a means of support for you. Also, there's a hadith about women being deficient in deen and intellect. So that is why two of them are equal to one man as a witness. If women cannot be trusted with money or as witnesses to debt contracts, how can they be trusted as narrators of a hadith and scholars of fiqh, tawheed, tajweed, and other Islamic sciences?
Interesting question. I'll summarize a little bit of this without getting myself too much in trouble. So regarding, in essence, the question is, are women reliable reporters in Quran and Hadith? They are. When we look in Islam, there are certain things, especially criminal matters, where emotions do get the best of people. And when we talk about legal matters and legal testimony in criminal cases, then even if you look at Western psychologists and sociologists, they've talked about the reporting of facts by men and women being different because of the influence of emotions. So in Islam, when you have those kinds of matters, yes, we have two witnesses from women to one, as that is a natural thing that is between men and women. But when it comes to reporting hadith, men and women are equally as strong. In fact, many of the scholars of hadith would prefer some of the women reporters of hadith, because many of the men, due to being involved in business and things, would get caught up in a lot of things, and women were able to preserve that knowledge. Aisha radiallahu anha was one of the greatest scholars of hadith, and she was a woman, and no doubt to her authenticity and no doubt to her memory. So when it comes to Quran, when it comes to hadith, when it comes to citing the moon and the witness for Ramadan, men and women are taken equally. There is no difference in that.
When is your next visit to Atlanta?
I don't know if they're going to allow me back.
Next weekend.
After this, they're going to be like, brother, stay in California.
We love you. We want you.
Allah bless you all. I love you all for the sake of Allah. It's a beautiful community. I'd love to come as much as I can. And inshallah, we'll look forward to seeing you all again soon.
Assalamu alaikum.
There's food afterwards as well. We invite everybody to stay.